Very pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into O'Neill's Grill for our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon with JMU basketball coaches. And we begin with JMU women's basketball coach Kenny Brooks as the Dukes continue to roll through the Colonial Athletic Association, now 11-0 in the CAA. And the Dukes are now 20-2 overall, 10 consecutive seasons with at least 20 wins. And now the Dukes also have 301 victories under the head coach Kenny Brooks, this past week beating Hofstra on Friday night, 77-68, surviving in that one. And then beating Drexel yesterday in very impressive fashion, 73-54. Coach Brooks, this was going to be a challenging weekend on the road, part of a three-game stretch of games away from the Convocation Center. Dukes came out of it pretty good, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, one of the things we talked about this weekend was enjoying the journey. I listened to John Calipari when he was talking about his Kentucky's team, and he said, "You're responsible for your happiness." And it kind of struck home because you're going through a stretch, and expectations are so high, and you get to a point where you're winning basketball games, and you have to have a balance. You have to have a good balance with the kids in order to keep them fresh. You don't want to put the burden on their shoulders where they feel like it's do or die every time they step out on the court, because then they'll get tense. And we wanted to make sure we were having an atmosphere where they were really enjoying it, because it is a game. And after the game, we want them to enjoy and celebrate the wins, because they're very hard to come by. And so we talked about that. After the game on Friday, if you had walked in the locker room and you didn't know the outcome, you probably would have thought we lost. And we wanted to make sure we changed that. And so Sunday's effort was much better throughout the game. They enjoyed the game a lot more. They celebrated the game more. But that's our purpose. Is to continue to try to get better each and every game. And I thought the kids did a really good job of that. And so it was a very good weekend. We probably had one bad stretch during that time, but other than that, I thought we played extremely well, and I was very proud of them.
You did get up by 26 at Hofstra early in the second half, and then things came a little bit unraveled. But as you talked about, the Dukes got a little bit away from the things that have really worked well for them, and that's beginning on the defensive end, and that seemed to be the case against the Pride.
In the first half, we were tremendous. We really took them out of the things they wanted to do, made it tough for them. Rotations were fantastic. That we really played to the scouting report. We knew where the shooters were. We knew where people wanted to try to get their points, and we did a great job, and that really spearheaded our offense, because we were out on the break and we were getting easy opportunities. And in the second half, we got away from it. We got away from it for whatever reason. I thought we took some quick shots. Defensively, we didn't have the intensity. They got out in transition and got some easy baskets, and then they had one player in particular who got going, Kelly Loftus, who was motivated. She had 28 points, and we just lost her time and time again. And I was a little disappointed, because normally we make those adjustments. We make the adjustments and understand, who has the hot hand, and we didn't do that on Friday night. And she pretty much carried Hofstra and put them on her back, and almost brought them back, totally from a 26-point deficit. But in the end, we stepped up. We made some plays when we had to, knocked down some free throws, and we learned from it. Learned from that experience. Take away nothing from Hofstra. They did a really good job of not hanging their heads. But I thought our kids learned a lot from that game, and it carried over till Sunday.
Carrying it over till Sunday, it is a short turnaround when you have to play a Denise Dillon squad. Less than 48 hours when you play your previous game. It was the second game, so that does give you a little bit of knowledge, but yet she has a tendency to throw a little wrinkle out there. How do you think? Well, first of all, I understand also from Nikki Newman's insight that your approach, your pregame speech to them against Drexel was a little different than maybe what you would have had in past years against Drexel.
Nikki giving out secrets?
She was, yes.
It's really, focusing on us. We didn't want to be too uptight. We didn't want to be too uptight, and we know Drexel is a very talented team that has a system that they understand, and they're going to go out and try to execute. And we're not going to stop everything that they do. Our goal was to really make it hard for them, to disrupt them, take them out of rhythm, and then really focus on the offensive end and getting the ball in spots where we wanted to get it into. And I think we took the pressure off the kids. We told them we wanted to play great defense, but don't think the world is ending if they do score a basket. Let's just get it back. We'll play defense harder the next time. And I thought the kids really bought into that, took some of the pressure off, And then we came out and we shot the lights out. Shot the lights out in the first half. The first half of that game was as well as I've seen us play in a very long time. I mean, we really had it going. We were knocking down shots, and someone, I think David asked me, or someone asked me, was that our game plan to really shoot the ball that well from three? Well, we love to shoot the ball that well from three, but we pretty much take what the defense gives us, and they're going to really pack it in and try to take away Lauren Okafor. And I thought we did a really good job of opening up the driving lanes, getting some baskets to her in the second half because of what we did in the first half. And we got out, and again, that was all spearheaded because our defense was so phenomenal that we were able to get easy opportunities, get out on the break. And it was like a highlight show, highlight reel for a lot of part of the game. We were getting shots, and Muff Mickens was running the break, and it was fantastic. And they've got a nice little setup down there. The DAC used to be the worst place in the league, and they've done some nice things. They've done some renovations, all chairback seats with some bleacher seats in the end zone. They even have a bathroom now on the main level. Denise was, she made sure she showed that to me because I used to have to go to the bathroom with the public, at halftime, and I think she did that. She did that for me, so I really appreciate that. But the atmosphere was great. Their band was rocking, and I thought we did a really good job of taking the wind out of their sail quick to where they really couldn't get into the game. And but it was great. Our kids, they really played well together. Second half, typical JMU Drexel. When the game is probably decided, I think both teams went very vanilla. And, I wasn't going to show her anything. She wasn't going to show us anything because if history repeats itself, we'll play them again in the tournament. And but it was a very good effort by our kids, individually. Jasmine Gwathmey got us going with three three-pointers in the first half. Precious was Precious. She had 19 points on, I think, 9 shots. 7 in the first half, only took 2 in the second half. Lady got it going in the second half. Muff Mickens, Precious gets the headlines. Lady will get the headlines, but Muff makes us go. And she was fantastic. It was her birthday yesterday. So she really came out and played extremely well. And then we got great production from our bench. Ashley Perez was okay. And then I thought Destiny Jones was great. Gave us great energy, rebounding the basketball, and very proud of her. She came away with a great effort. So it was a collective effort by our group, and we're going to need that continuing on in the season.
It sounded like, based upon the first possession, that they were just going to let Muff go out. They're going to let her go ahead and do her thing, and they were going to really pack it in. But that certainly didn't work to their advantage. And against Drexel, it seems very important for you to get the lead early. You can't afford to be down by double digits to them early.
I don't want to be down to them double digits anytime, but early is, it is a deficit because you feel like when you're down by 10, it could be down by 20. Muff, they were really packing in the lane on her. And funny story, Toya kind of is my hype man, and they were playing off of Muff, and I think Muff made a turnover, and Toya said, "They're disrespecting you. You shoot the ball," and then Muff got puffed up a little bit, and and she made a jumper, and she comes off, and she's mumbling, and they're not gonna play off me, and I just told her to relax, just play your game. Don't let them take you out of what you really need to do. And she kind of settled in, did a fantastic job. But it's really hard. You can play off of her, but now she has better passing lanes. She can see what she needs to do more. So you can try to pack it in, but now you're just going to give her opportunity to pass the ball to Precious to shoot a 3 or to Gwathmey to shoot a 3. So you're kind of just picking your poison. But she played well, played extremely well, and I was very proud of her.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention and congratulate you on the 300th career victory on Friday night at Hofstra. I know that had special meaning for you to, if you're not going to win it at home, winning one like that on the road might be pretty good there at Hofstra, of course. But you spoke, of course, to this with David Taylor afterwards, and probably another milestone is on the horizon that you might have a little more, sentimental value to you than maybe just reaching the milestone of 300.
It does. I mean, I think if there was a larger space in between, 300 would have been more of a celebration, but it came, and I was very fortunate, very excited about it, because it is an accomplishment. It really is to know that you've been somewhere and in relatively not too long of a time, but had, some success to be able to reach this milestone. And it makes you reflect upon everything, from the days of dreaming about this opportunity to the days of getting it and wondering if you could do it, to trying to get kids in here, get coaches in here who believed in your vision, and being able to execute it. and it's been a joyous ride. We've had tremendous people, all up and down, that's really helped it. Not only the coaches, the players, my family, just people behind the scenes, such as yourself, Mike Schickman, David Taylor, Mila Sue Wisecarver. You can go on and on and on. The people that have really touched this program to help us get to that point. But it was great. But when you have an opportunity to be in the same breath as a living legend as Sheila Moorman, that does have a little bit more sentimental value, because I know what Coach Moorman has done not only for this program, for this community, but what she's done for women's basketball. And to have her here, to be a mentor to me, and a mentor in a great way, it's very special. So if that day comes, I hope it comes soon, where I'm able to tie her and possibly even pass it. I think you'll see a little bit more excitement, a little bit more emotion, because she's very special to me, and just when I took over this program, there's no way I ever dreamed of being in the same breath as her and what she's done. So it's a great accomplishment, and it's an honor to be able to be mentioned that way.
Also, one other point to make before we turn over to other members of the media here at O'Neill's Grill. Junior point guard Angela Mickens, you've also already talked a little bit about Muff, but she was named on Friday to the Nancy Lieberman Award watch list by the Naismith Group, and what a phenomenal accomplishment for her just to be on that watch list, and she continues to produce the numbers that validates her reason for being there.
Kurt, when Devin told me that Muff was on that list, I got more excited about that than 300. I really did, because I'm so excited for her. And obviously, point guard is my position, and she came in here, and I had to break her down. I had to strip her down to the roots of being a point guard and build her back up. And then obviously, she's near and dear to my heart. She's from Stanton, and a local kid, and bringing her in here, she was stubborn. So admittedly so, very stubborn. She was going to try to do it her way, and we needed her to do it, my way. And she's adapted to that. We joke a lot, but I'm very serious. We had a one-way ticket for her to go back to Stanton her freshman year, until she bought into the process and bought into what I really needed her to do. And last year, I thought she made strides, and then she sacrificed. And she sacrificed for Nikki Newman to become a point forward. And, she could have blossomed even more, but, Nikki played, more of the point position. And then Muff waited her turn, and now she has her turn. And she's grown into one of the best point guards that I've had, and arguably the best. Hope she's not watching this, but, she's on pace to do that. And what I mean by that is that she's the true point guard. And the only other true point guard I've really had is Andrea Benvenuto. And she's rivaling Andrea and where she is at this stage, and being a leader of understanding, being an extension of me out on the floor. So when I learned that she was up for this award, I was extremely happy. I wanted to run over and tell her I was more excited about that than actually win 300. And when I went over to her and I told her, it was funny because her response was, "Who's Nancy Lieberman?" And,
no surprise.
So then I had to go and explain to her who she was, and I think she Googled her and then understood who she was and what a prestigious honor it was to be on that list. But I've said it along. She doesn't get a lot of the fanfare because she doesn't score as many points, but she's put on that list, and what does she do? She goes out and she scores 11 points, 11 rebounds, gets 11 rebounds, and has 7 assists. Comes back last night, and I'm not sure how many points she scored, but I think she dominated the game, just getting the ball where it needed to go. So she's playing extremely well, and I'm very proud of her. And she's definitely proven that she's one of the top point guards in the country, but she's also one of the best players in our league.
I did fib. I want to ask you one more question before we turn it over. Yesterday, of course, it was announced that Dean Smith passed away, and he was certainly in his heyday at the time that you were growing up and learning basketball. Did you watch him or any influence there, be directly or indirectly, as you were growing up and eventually playing for Waynesboro and then coming to JMU?
Well, I mean, he was the guy. He was the coach. As Coach K is now, that's what Dean Smith was when I was growing up. And I always watching his teams, obviously being a Michael Jordan fan. I used to mimic Kenny Smith. I used to call myself Kenny Smith Brooks. And I had a little board game that almost cost me my future because I always wanted to play it. It was a little board game where you had to do substitutions, use statistics, and the team I used to play with was North Carolina all the time. And so always watching him and how he conducted himself, way his teams played. He's a legend. So many. He was an innovator. So many things that go on today are because of him. The way people try to run their programs, the way that he ran his program was the model. We probably have the shot clock today because of his four corners that he implemented. But just an innovator, one of the best coaches, one of the best teachers of the game, and to lose him, I don't know if we were depressed. I think we need to celebrate, him and everything that he's done. And I listened to all the testimonies from his players yesterday, all day on ESPN. And if I can have 5 kids who think of me the way that thousands of kids think of him, I'll be very happy, because you just listen to his players and they do talk about basketball, but it's down the list. They talk about how he made them a better man, the things that he did, teaching them about financial records, to, the things that he did for the civil rights activists, growing up. He's always been a hero of mine, and again, if I can do, and I used to listen to Coach Drizel talk about him a lot, and they battled and they had tremendous battles, but the respect that Coach Drizel had for Dean Smith was tremendous. And the stories that he would tell me about Dean Smith and what they used to do, it would always end with, he was a great guy, and it didn't matter what the game or how tough the game was. He would always come back to how great of a guy Dean Smith was. So just an honor to be have watched him coach. And I know we lost a legend, and the basketball world will miss him.
You did have a chance to play against him, too.
I did. I was able to score a few points against him, and it's one of those surreal moments when you're running up and down the sideline and there's a timeout, and you're inbounding the basketball, and right beside you is Dean Smith. It's an honor. It's kind of intimidating, and you're going through the line. It's one of the things that you really cherish when you go through the line. I did it with him. I did it with John Thompson. I did it with Bobby Knight. Is that it's not a traditional just a slap. You want to shake his hand and make eye contact because of what they are to basketball, and so it was definitely an honor for me.
All right, thank you very much for that insight there, Kenny. We're going to now turn it over to other members of the media here at O'Neill's Grill for our weekly Fan and Press luncheon for basketball coach Kenny Brooks of the JMU Women's Basketball Dukes.
Going back to yesterday's game, did you get the sense after shoot-around before the game that this team would do really well shooting, especially from beyond the arc?
If I could do that, I would go play the lottery. I mean, you never know. You never know. And I do watch them. Each and every one of the kids, I know their shots. I know if they're in rhythm. I know if they have their mechanics right. So you can kind of have a feeling, but you never know. You don't know how the defenses are going to play. I know what they're capable of doing. And yesterday what they did is what they're capable of doing on any given night. So we're in a good place. We traveled well. We went up to Hofstra. We played. The kids understood that we had a bad stretch. They were eager to come back and play against Drexel. We one of the coaches in the league said that Drexel was by far the best defensive team in the league. We took notice of that. We're motivating ourselves. But they're just in a good place. They're in a good place, and I love the fact that we have the preseason player of the year in Precious Hall, and she could very well try to go out and get as many shots as she can, but she settled for 9 yesterday, 9 good ones, and it allowed her teammates to play and get some shots as well.
With regards to Precious, what does she do from a technical standpoint, either in practice or in shoot around, that can lead to performances that you get more than 20 points out of her?
Precious is she's very unique. She arguably is the best shooter that I've ever had. When she gets everything right, her feet set, she's a great shooter. Mechanics, everything, she's great. Sometimes she gets a little lackadaisical in practice, and it's ironic that we were practicing on Saturday, and I thought she was a little lackluster. And I brought the guards in because they kind of do a position split. I brought the guards in and indirectly kind of yelled at her because she wasn't going as hard as I wanted her to go. She picked it up, got the message, came out, and she's able to play to her capabilities. She's talented. She's very talented. I'm just trying to get the most out of her to understand how good she can be. But she's a special player who probably could play anywhere in the country. She's that gifted. So it's just my job to make sure that she's focused and comes out every night ready to put her talents on display.
Again, congrats on now at win number 301. How have you changed as a head coach from win 200 to now win 301?
Oh, yeah, I changed the way I was last week to the way I am today. You have to evolve, you do. And I can remember 200 vividly because it was a double overtime win at American. And I think what made me remember it the most was that the kids bombarded me after the game was over with, in celebration. But I'm totally different. You have to be different because you have to evolve with today's kids, but you also have to evolve with team to team. I'm a different coach this year than I was last year. And you have to understand the personality of your team, what really gets them going. I will coach and motivate Precious much differently than I coach and motivate Jasmine Gwathmey, which I coach and motivate much differently than I do with Lady Okafor, and so on and so forth. So you just have to understand the personality of your team and what's going to try to get them better. So I'm very different, and I'm sure I'll be very different next year's team, and in 5 years from now. But I think it's all part of the evolution of coaching.
Coach, you play fast. You get up and down the floor. How much emphasis do you put on turnovers? Do you look at that first or second when you look at a stat sheet? And how much do you dwell on that with your team, knowing that that's going to come as fast as you play sometimes?
Well, I think you have to be careful with that because the last thing you want them to do is to be tentative. We want them to be aggressive. Aggressive is smart. One of the terms we use is to value the basketball. Value the basketball. We want you to be aggressive. We're going to make turnovers. We just want to limit and minimize the careless turnovers. Sometimes people are going to double team you. Sometimes you're going to try to make a pass that gets deflected. But we want to minimize the ones that just don't make sense. And and if you're going to play fast, you're going to have turnovers. I think we do a pretty good job of balancing the two and understanding that we have to take care of the basketball. We have drills in practice to where it forces them to be aggressive, but at the same time, they're going to be punished for the careless turnovers, and it's a thing. But we have to balance it so that the kids aren't second guessing themselves during the play. We want them to be aggressive and understand what's a good play and what's not a good play.
You were talking about Dean Smith and some of the recollections yesterday from his former players that are now coaches was how he would call them or they would call him and discuss situations, whether the team is in a funk or what have you. Who do you lean on? Who do you look to kind of help you when you kind of run up against a wall?
Well, as far as leaning on somebody from a day-to-day basis, probably the best coach in the world, my wife. She's my sounding board, and she listens to me. And whether I've told the story 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, she listens like it's the first time, and you need that rock for someone to be able to listen to you. But, I've got a lot of coaches in the profession that I talk to. Kirby Dean over at Eastern Mennonite, he and I, we're sounding boards for each other. We're very similar, other than the color of our skin. I think we're identical. But we have a lot of things in common. I talk to him, and a lot of times I get uplifted. Coach Drizel will call me from time to time, and we'll talk. And it just always amazes me that, he follows us. He'll call me and congratulate me on certain wins and things of that nature. And to me that's tremendous because he's the one who gave me my start. He gave me my start in coaching. I switched over. He continued to follow me, and he's very proud of me, and that means a lot to me. So I've got a lot of people that I lean on in this profession because sometimes it can bog you down, and sometimes it can make you second guess what you're doing, and then people validate it. I have a non-coach, Casey Carter, who's our academic coordinator here at JMU. And she's probably the most popular person ever come through JMU as far as athletes are concerned. And she'll send me a note when things aren't going well that will just uplift me. When I think things can't get any better, she'll send me a note, and it does. It gets a little bit better. So she's a fantastic person who really helps me and who's helped me along in my career.
Who would you say have been the biggest influence on your coaching career? Influences, you kind of mentioned Lefty. Is he up there as the guys who have helped you along the way?
There are a lot of people. Honestly, other than my parents who put me on this path, my wife who has supported me the most, I've got a lot of coaches who have done a lot of things for me. But again, I'll mention Casey Carter. What she's done for me, and when I was coaching for Coach Drizel, and there were times where I just didn't want to do it anymore. It was too demanding, and I'd sit down and talk to her, and she talked me off the ledge, so to speak, and told me that I was going to be good at this. I went to VMI, and there were plenty of times when I thought this wasn't good for me, and she was lining up jobs for me, but at the same time telling me that I was going to be really good at this, and talking me off the ledge, and continuing to help me. When I thought about switching over to the women's side, I had like a 2 or 3 hour conversation with her, and she was the one who made me follow my heart, because so many people said, don't switch to the women's side. You're going to be, a head coach on the men's side. And she listened to me and listened to me talk, and she kind of, she didn't force me, but she led me to following my heart. So she's been one of the biggest influences on me as a coach, and in helping me develop into the person that I am. And for her, I thank her. And you guys, you want to do a story? You should do a story on her. Walk into her office, you will be amazed when you walk into her office of all of the past athletes, who just send her notes, pictures. It's like a museum. It's like a museum of former players here. And whenever I run across someone of my generation, the first thing they say is, "How's Casey? How's Miss Carter?" And she's been a huge influence on me and a lot of other JMU athletes as well.
You played here for Lefty Drizel. You were a men's assistant for 8 seasons. You mentioned following your heart. What was it about women's basketball that made you want to try it?
Being on the men's side, I saw where it was going. It was a lot of one-on-one play. AAU circuit was really taking over. When I was a player here, Coach Foreman really had a tremendous program. The ladies there won. They won a lot. And the way she ran her program, I just admired it. Even after a hard day of practice with Lefty, my friends we would walk out of the convo, and they would walk out to go to D Hall and go get something to eat, and I would sit and watch practice for a while. I would stick around and come to a game when it wasn't cool, for the men's team to hang out with the women's team, and I would come watch, and it was just something that I always wanted to do. And when I was at VMI, me and Kirby Dean, we would talk, and we talked about our dream jobs, and his dream job was being the head coach of Eastern Mennonite men. And my dream job was being the head coach of JMU women's basketball. And we would talk about that, and we talked about if we could ever get to that point, how happy we would be. And it's just something that I wanted to do. It's something I wanted to do. And I had an opportunity. Bud Childers called me when he had an opening, and he offered me the job, and I didn't take it because I talked to so many people, and so many people were like, don't do it, don't do it. The only people who said do it was Casey Carter and my wife. And I didn't do it. I didn't do it the first time. I regretted it. It was a year or two that went on, and the opportunity came around again. And I didn't ask anyone other than my wife and Casey Carter. And both of them said, you should follow your heart. And that's what I did. I took a leap of faith, and when I did it, it shocked a lot of people. Your newspaper, the headlines was Brooke jumped ship. It was a very hard weekend for me, but it was something that I wanted to do. I followed my heart, and 13, 14 years later, I'm living a dream. And so it's been very, very special, and because of people who have really supported me.
So when you were a player here, you would watch Sheila Mormon, director of practices. Did you guys have, a relationship back then? Did you guys talk, or was it more so when you came back as an assistant?
No, I didn't talk to Coach Foreman. She was scary. No, I just admired her from afar. She knew my name. And I made sure I had my shirt tucked in and everything when she walked by me. But it was a lot of respect for what she did. And I was close to the team, the women's team. Vicki Harris went to high school with me, and we both came to JMU at the same year on basketball scholarships. And so I had a rooting interest already in that manner. But I watched them and just admired her from afar. I don't think Coach Foreman and myself, we got really, really close until I made the switch and switch over. And I like to say I made her like me, because I finally got over my fear and made her talk to me. But she's a living legend here, and I've had a lot of respect for her. But she mentored me. I watched her, and I knew how to run a program, just try to emulate what she did.
You started here as the interim coach. Obviously, some awkward circumstances at the time when you took over. Were you comfortable taking that job at the time? Was that a tough call for you?
No, I mean, it was a circumstance when, the head coach took a leave of absence, and he told me to run the program as if it were mine. And I think those words really helped me. I know I had Coach Foreman there if I needed her for some advice. And pretty much what we did, we just kind of went out, and I had a veteran group. I think that really was a key component. I think there were like 4 or 5 seniors in that group. And we were talented, and I made mistakes. I made mistakes along the way. I learned a lot along that year. There were no promises given to me. It was stressful. But to take over the program in a time of need, I felt like I owed a lot to that program because it was my school, and it was a school that gave me so much, and with the blessing of the former head coach to run the program as if it were yours, I think that made it a lot easier. So we went out and we learned along the way, and then the kids were very supportive. They worked very hard for me. We had ups and downs, but I thought we came away from it. We held the program together. I was fortunate enough, and they gave me a chance. They didn't give me a long contract. They gave me a couple years to prove that I could do some things. We were fortunate. We got a good group, Meredith, Alexis, and those guys who came in, took a leap of faith. Tamara Young signed with me, and I had never been. I was just the head coach. I mean, I never really coached a game when it was my program. So a lot of people took a leap of faith, joined our program, and I've been very fortunate that we had that kind of support from the administration, from Jeff Bourne to Charlie King, Dr. Rose at the time. So many people really supported me and gave me the confidence to go out there and try to build a program and to emulate what Coach Foreman did.
So really no celebration after 300? You didn't really do anything?
No, well, it really wasn't. And honestly, I mean, I got congratulatory texts, direct messages who I haven't gotten back to yet, or a lot of different people talked to me about it. A lot of former assistant coaches, current coaches. The players did it in their own way, very quietly. But, honestly, for me, it's a major accomplishment. It is, because to get 300 wins, it is. It's very special. But I think because 302 is so close that I think that's something that puts you in rare air. And just to be associated with Coach Foreman, for me, is tremendous in itself.
And then you called this your dream job. I mean, to look back on the body of work and see the amount of success you've had, is it almost surreal?
It is. It really is. When I talked to the kids and I told them congratulations after the Drexel game, this was the 10th straight year that we won 20 or more games. And, a lot doesn't really get to them, but that got to them. And that allowed me to really take a step back and to smell the roses. And if we were fortunate enough to get 4 more wins this year, it's 10 straight years of 24 wins or more. And it's not just 24. We've had a couple with 26, one with 27, a couple with 29. And to have that amount of success in a short period of time, it is tremendous. One day I'll sit back and I'll reflect on it and I'll think how impressive it was. But it just goes to show you that, we've had a lot of great people who have been associated with this program. We've had support from the administration, from the community. It really helps make this program what it is. And, we're probably going to play on Sunday, and we'll probably have 5,000 or 6,000 people in the facility, and that's unheard of in women's basketball. So we're very fortunate, but we're also blessed to understand that we have something very special here.
Thanks.
Hate to detour from memory lane, but you have a game against Towson on Thursday. I remember the last time you faced Towson, you weren't exactly the happiest coach in the world. How has this team changed from that game to now your second meeting with the Tigers?
Well, it got our attention. It really did. Towson played a great game. They executed their game plan against us, one that's been mimicked since then, from the CAA. We know how to play against it now. They have a couple of tremendous players who are capable of going off and having big nights. We're looking forward to it, as I'm sure they are. We've been looking forward to it for a while, and we'll be ready. It's kind of an unorthodox game. We call it a kiddie game. Playing at 12 o'clock at noon, on 12 noon on Thursday. I'm not a big fan of those kind of games. I just think it takes the kids out of their routine, and it's not fair for either side. I think we do it the best way. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Denise Dillon yesterday, and she really commended our marketing group on doing it the right way by doing it on a weekend, and I just think it's disrespectful to women's basketball to go out and not allow your season ticket holders to be able to come to the basketball game because you're having a field trip and you're making the kids play at 12 o'clock. But it is what it is until the CAA steps in or until we really talk about it. That they chose this game. They chose it for us to play at 12 o'clock, and we'll be there. We'll be ready to go, and we're looking forward to it.
How does your team adjust to, I think, one of the earliest, if not the earliest, start for you guys this season?
I don't know. I'll let you know once the game starts, when it's over. You know, they're kids. We'll get up there. We'll get them focused. I think they have a little bit of motivation. They're ready to go. And we'll talk about it because if we're going to play, if we're going to advance in the CAA tournament, I'm sure we're going to play a game at 12 o'clock. So we'll kind of use that as motivation or talk about that as being a precursor for the CAA tournament. But like you asked me, can I foresee, if someone's going to have a big game? I can't foresee if it's going to affect us one way or another. We'll just manage it and see what happens as the game goes on.
That's Coach Kenny Brooks, JMU women's basketball. Again, the Dukes 20-2 overall, 11-0 in the CAA. Coming up this week, they will be at Towson. Again, that is a noon game on Thursday. And then the next home game for the Dukes on Sunday, 1 o'clock is the tip-off. That's a 1 o'clock start on Sunday, not a 2 as typically. It is also a Duke Club Reading Day program, so the doors will open at 11:30 a.m. for fans to enter the Convocation Center. Coach Brooks, thank you for joining us this week. We'll talk to you again next Monday here at O'Neill's Grill with our weekly Fan and Press Lunch.
And I will DM you back, Kurt. Thanks, Kurt.